Welcome back to our channel, where we dive into the most glamorous and treacherous corners of Los Angeles. Today is a magnificent day to unravel the latest jaw-dropping developments in the world of high fashion and high stakes. Grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let us explore the explosive drama brewing behind the closed doors of Forrester Creations. Forrester Creations has always stood as a monolithic fortress of beauty, legacy, and unparalleled artistry. Within these towering glass and steel walls, generations of passion have been woven into every silken thread and every dazzling diamond. However, beneath the glamorous veneer of haute couture, the executive suites are often brutal battlegrounds where family loyalty is violently tested and corporate espionage lurks in the darkest shadows. Steffy Forrester Finnegan, the reigning co-CEO, knows this cutthroat reality better than anyone alive. She has spent her entire adult life defending her family's empire against external predators, rival dynasties, and internal betrayals. Recently, the atmosphere at the company has been suffocatingly tense, exacerbated by the meteoric and infuriating success of the rival Logan brand, helmed by the opportunistic Katie Logan Spencer and the ruthless Bill Spencer. Steffi has been navigating an absolute minefield, trying to hold her creative team together while warding off the relentless, calculated attacks on her family's historic legacy. The burden of leadership rests heavily upon Steffi's shoulders, a weight that has grown exponentially in recent weeks. She has been meticulously managing the chaotic fallout of Ivy Forrester's disgraceful exit, a scandal of manipulation that rocked the foundational trust of the company. With Ivy gone, Steffi and her father, Ridge Forrester, made the incredibly risky but necessary decision to elevate young Electra Forrester, thrusting the monumental responsibility of the entire jewelry division into her relatively inexperienced hands. Steffi genuinely believed she was fostering the next generation of Forrester greatness, nurturing Electra's raw, undeniable talent and integrating her deeper into the protective family fold. She envisioned a bright future where Electra would stand proudly alongside her, defending the brand against all adversaries. But in the ruthless, bloodthirsty world of Los Angeles fashion, vulnerability is like blood in the water, and Steffi is about to discover that a highly dangerous predator has already breached their defenses, swimming silently within the very walls she swore to protect. It was supposed to be a completely routine afternoon, a mundane administrative task that would momentarily distract Steffi from the looming, migraine-inducing threat of the Logan brand's multi-million-dollar billboard triumph. A scheduled diagnostic check of the internal audio and advanced security systems at Forrester Creations required her direct executive authorization. As she sat in the dimly lit security control room, the glowing monitors casting a cold, sharp blue light across her striking features, she expected to hear nothing more than the static hum of empty design rooms, the distant chatter of the cutting floor, or the rhythmic clicking of sewing machines. Instead, a specific isolated channel crackled to life, pulling a live audio feed from one of the secluded, supposedly private executive lounges. The voices that drifted through the high-fidelity speakers were intimately familiar, yet the words they exchanged were laced with a venomous ambition that would instantly freeze the blood in Steffi's veins. She knew perfectly well that Will had been desperately trying to rebuild his shattered romance with Electra after Ivy's manipulative sabotage was publicly exposed to the entire office. But as the cadence of Will's voice dramatically shifted from a tender, pleading apology to a tone of calculated, hypnotic persuasion, Steffi's hand hovered frozen over the control console. He was not just speaking to Electra, the woman he supposedly loved. He was negotiating with Electra, the highly valuable corporate asset. "You will always just be Steffi's shadow here," Will's voice echoed through the crisp speakers, each deliberate syllable striking Steffi like a physical, suffocating blow to the chest. He painted a dark, oppressive picture of Electra's future at Forrester Creations, framing her recent, massive promotion not as an incredible opportunity for growth, but as a gilded trap designed to keep her subservient and overworked. He maliciously twisted Steffy's authoritative leadership into a false narrative of tyranny, convincing Electra that she would never, ever be allowed to shine brighter than the reigning CEO. Will expertly preyed on Electra's deepest insecurities, her overwhelming fear of massive failure in her new, daunting role, and her desperate, human need for ultimate validation. He systematically dismantled her loyalty to her bloodline, planting toxic seeds of doubt that took rapid root in the fertile soil of her current anxiety. Steffi listened, utterly paralyzed by shock, as the young man she had graciously allowed into her company systematically poisoned the mind of her vulnerable protégé. He spoke passionately of the Logan brand, of his father Bill Spencer and Katie Logan Spencer, and their desperate, urgent need for a visionary lead designer to capitalize on their recent, stolen global triumph. Will audaciously offered Electra the undisputed throne of this rising fashion empire. He promised her absolute, unchecked creative control, infinite financial resources from the Spencer Vault, and a massive global platform where her name would permanently eclipse even the grandest, most historic Forrester legends. Will was blatantly leveraging the immense, intimidating wealth and influence of the Spencer dynasty, weaponizing his family's billions to buy Electra's loyalty and steal Forrester's brightest, rising star right out from under Steffi's nose. Then came the ultimate, devastatingly calculated blow. The audio feed captured the soft rustle of movement, a breathless, heavy pause, and then Will's voice dropping to a low, intense, commanding whisper. He was not just asking Electra to defect to a rival company. He was proposing marriage. "Marry me, Electra," he urged, his words dripping with a terrifying, intoxicating blend of raw passion and cold corporate politics. "Become a Spencer. Together, we will make you the undisputed, unrivaled queen of the global fashion world." No more answering to Steffi. No more begging for scraps of recognition or fighting for budget approvals. As my wife, you will have the entire, unstoppable Spencer empire at your back. The proposition was a chilling masterstroke of emotional manipulation. Will was seamlessly fusing the intoxicating promise of eternal, unconditional love with the cold, hard, transactional currency of corporate dominance. He was using a diamond ring as a pair of golden handcuffs. In the suffocating, heavy silence of the security control room, Steffi's entire worldview violently and irrevocably realigned. The sudden trembling in her hands was not born of sorrow or fear, but of an apocalyptic, blinding, all-consuming rage. R.J. Forrester had been right all along. The bitter, escalating feud between R.J. and Will, the physical scuffles in the hallways, R.J.'s seemingly paranoid accusations that Will was a corporate spy. It was all absolutely, terrifyingly true. Well, Spencer was not just a heartbroken boy trying to win back his alienated girlfriend. He was a literal Trojan horse, sent by the ruthless Bill Spencer to gut Forrester Creations from the inside out. He was intentionally using the sacred, profound institution of marriage as a cheap political chess piece, a contractual, binding agreement to ensure Electra's permanent defection to the rival Logan brand. He was brutally exploiting Electra's current emotional vulnerability, her deep exhaustion from Ivy's relentless scheming, and her terrifying new professional responsibilities, all to serve the greedy Spencer corporate agenda. Steffi realized with crystal clarity that Will's love for Electra, whether it contained a shred of genuine affection or was entirely manufactured, was inextricably linked to his relentless ambition. He did not just want to hold her heart. He wanted to own her immense talent, her promising future, and her famous Forrester name, only to cynically rebrand it under the Spencer banner. It was a predatory, hostile corporate acquisition brilliantly disguised as a sweeping fairy tale romance. Through the high-quality speakers, Steffi could hear Electra's ragged, uneven breathing, the agonizing, heartbreaking sound of a young woman tearing apart at the psychological seams. Electra was standing at the most terrifying, monumental crossroads of her entire life. On one side stood her loyal family, the daunting, crushing weight of running the jewelry line, and the undeniable, magnetic, passionate pull she had recently felt toward R.J. Forrester. On the other side stood Will Spencer, offering her a glittering escape hatch lined with solid gold, a royal crown without the heavy burden of Forrester internal politics, and a diamond ring that promised absolute, unbreakable security. Steffy's heart genuinely ached for her younger cousin, deeply recognizing the immense, crushing psychological pressure Will was applying. Electra was being slowly suffocated by the very man who loudly claimed to be her ultimate savior. Every fiery, aggressive instinct in Steffy's body screamed at her to kick open the heavy door of the security room, march furiously down the long hallway, and physically, violently throw Will Spencer out of the building. She desperately wanted to unleash a legendary, screaming torrent of Forrester fury, to brutally expose his manipulative, disgusting lies to Electra's face, and to publicly, devastatingly humiliate him for his treacherous corporate espionage. She vividly envisioned the immense satisfaction of watching his smug, confident Spencer smirk crumble into dust as she fired him on the spot, banning him from the premises forever and calling security to drag him to the curb. The impulsive, fiery, purely emotional Steffy of the past would have done exactly that, sparking a chaotic, screaming, public confrontation that would have echoed through the gossip tabloid for weeks on end. But Steffy Forrester Finnegan is no longer just a fiery, impulsive heiress. She's a seasoned, battle-hardened, fiercely intelligent CEO who has learned the absolute darkest arts of corporate warfare from the very best. As she stared intensely at the glowing audio console, the formidable spirit of her namesake, the legendary Stephanie Forrester, seemed to settle heavily over her shoulders, cooling her boiling, volatile blood into absolute liquid nitrogen. A loud, public confrontation would only serve to make Will look like a tragic, romantic martyr. It might even accidentally push a confused, terrified, and overwhelmed Electra right into his waiting arms, seemingly validating his toxic claims that Steffy was a tyrannical, unhinged dictator who wanted to control her life. If Steffy reacted with blind, uncontrolled rage, she would instantly lose the complex game. She needed to be significantly smarter, infinitely colder, and vastly more ruthless than a Spencer could ever comprehend. Steffy slowly, deliberately pulled her trembling hand away from the control console, leaving the live audio feed running, forcing herself to absorb every single treacherous, poisonous syllable. She profoundly realized that knowledge is only true power if the enemy has absolutely no idea that you possess it. By keeping this devastating, world-shattering secret entirely to herself, Steffi had just miraculously gained the ultimate, unbeatable tactical advantage. While Spencer arrogantly believed he was operating completely in the shadows, an invisible, brilliant puppet master effortlessly pulling Electra's delicate strings. He had absolutely no idea that the reigning queen of the chessboard was watching his every single move, perfectly anticipating his overarching strategy, and meticulously preparing to counter with a lethal strike that would completely annihilate him. The Logan brand was currently riding incredibly high on the stolen genius of Eric Forster's designs, but they were creatively, fundamentally bankrupt without a true, young visionary to lead their next crucial collection. Bill and Katie were desperate for fresh talent, which made them highly dangerous, but also incredibly predictable. Will was their designated golden boy, tasked with securing the ultimate prize. If Steffi could brilliantly dismantle Will's insidious plan, she wouldn't just be saving Electra from a toxic, manipulative marriage. She would be dealing a catastrophic, potentially fatal blow to the Logan brand's entire future. She needed to surgically sever the emotional and professional ties Will was desperately trying to forge, and she needed to do it in a brilliant way that made Electra realize the horrifying truth entirely on her own. Steffi's strategic thoughts immediately turned to R.J. Forrester. R.J. was already deeply suspicious, already openly hostile toward Will, and most importantly, he was the current object of Electra's newfound, undeniable, and passionate attraction. RJ was the absolute perfect, ready-made weapon. Steffi realized with a cold smirk that she didn't need to fire Will directly. She simply needed to empower RJ. If she could subtly, invisibly orchestrate situations that constantly pushed Electra and RJ closer together, while simultaneously, quietly exposing the cold, transactional, political nature of Will's boundless ambition, Electra would naturally, instinctively pull away from the dangerous Spencer trap. Steffi would flawlessly play the role of the incredibly supportive, nurturing, empowering CEO, completely and utterly invalidating Will's false narrative that Electra was just a forgotten shadow in the Forrester empire. The master plan began to crystallize in Steffi's mind with terrifying, lethal precision. Steffi would immediately begin giving Electra significantly more public recognition, vastly more departmental resources, and unprecedented creative authority, ensuring that the young, anxious designer felt the full, unwavering, massive support of the entire Forrester family. She would make the Forrester legacy so incredibly irresistible, so vibrant, supportive, and nurturing, that Will's hollow promises of Spencer dominance would eventually taste like bitter ash in Electra's mouth. Meanwhile, Steffi would secretly, meticulously gather undeniable, concrete proof of Will's corporate espionage, building a hidden dossier so incredibly damning that when she finally decided to drop the guillotine, it would permanently sever Will's connection to Forrester Creations, Electra, and the fashion industry forever. As the audio feed finally clicked off, leaving the cold security control room in absolute, deafening silence, a chilling, deeply predatory smile touched Steffi's lips. The physical trembling had completely, entirely stopped. She felt a profound, dangerous, oceanic calm settle over her entire spirit. Well, Spencer had made the ultimate, fatal mistake of vastly underestimating her intelligence and her ferocity. He arrogantly thought he could casually walk right into her kingdom, manipulate and seduce her protégé, and steal her crown jewels without facing a single consequence. He was about to learn the hard, devastating way that crossing Steffi Forrester Finnegan is a guaranteed, inescapable death sentence in the global fashion industry. But this brand new chapter, secretly sparked by a private, manipulative conversation caught accidentally on a hidden microphone, promises to be the most vicious, explosive, and destructive yet. Steffi is no longer just playing defense against the Logan brand's annoying billboard success. She has fully transitioned into an apex predator, silently, invisibly stalking her prey through the glamorous, brightly lit corridors of her empire. She will patiently wait for the absolute perfect moment, the exact, precise second when Will Spencer truly believes he has finally won the game, to spring her invisible trap and burn his pathetic ambitions to the ground. Standing up slowly from the security console, Steffi smoothed the immaculate, sharp lines of her designer blazer, her posture radiating absolute, terrifying authority. The secret she now carried was a fully loaded gun, and she was the only person on Earth who knew the safety was permanently off. Well, Spencer's romantic marriage proposal was not the beautiful beginning of a fairy tale. It was the dark prologue to his absolute, undeniable destruction. Steffi walked out of the control room, stepping back into the bustling, brightly lit, chaotic world of Forrester Creations, perfectly ready to smile brightly at her enemies while she meticulously, silently dug their graves. The fashion world is about to witness an unparalleled masterclass in vengeance. And